Should be live. Oh, I need my apron.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Happy Stir Friday. We will get going in just a second here. We even have dessert tonight.
Hey, what's up, Matt? If you do exclamation point menu, you can see what we're making. Can you guys hear us okay? Is the volume okay? Is the music okay? I went back to just the microphone from the computer. The Snowball wasn't working that well for me, so let me know if all the levels and stuff are okay. You can start.
Alright. So for dessert tonight, I'm making a strudel, which is basically just a flaky pastry rolled up with some sort of filling. So I am making a chocolate and walnut strudel. So I have some chocolate chips here and some walnuts that I've already chopped up pretty fine because I want to make sure that when I roll up the pastry that it's going to roll up nice and tight and not be all lumpy. So I'm going to start by melting the chocolate chips in the microwave, and then I've got some puff pastry that we bought frozen. It's really easy to find in the frozen food section. It's a pain to make from scratch, and it's actually really good quality frozen. So I'll roll that out once I've melted the chocolate, and while I do that, Mr. Biscotti here will explain what we're making for stir fry.
Cool, thank you, D-Rec. So for the stir fry, we're gonna do a pad see ew, which is a Thai dish. It typically would have a rice noodle, but they're hard to find. So we went with some pappardelle, which is a thicker noodle. You can see that. It's a egg pasta, and the reason we're using this is more so for the shape than anything. You can find rice noodles, but they're going to be really thin. This is what you would typically find in dishes like a pad thai and whatnot, and we want this to have a thicker noodle to it. So yeah, we're gonna use this. I'm gonna get some water boiling and cook this off first.
And I'm just going by 30-second intervals in the microwave with the chocolate chips. I've got about 5 ounces of chocolate chips. They're dark chocolate. You could really use, if you want milk chocolate or semi-sweet, that's fine. We just both prefer dark chocolate. And 30 seconds is a good amount to get them a little bit melted, and then stirring them with a rubber spatula. You don't want it to burn, so you want to keep checking it.
Alright.
That actually took just a minute, and you can see some of them aren't quite melted all the way. Sorry. I'm actually going to keep stirring it because the heat from what is melted will keep melting it. So, like I said, you don't want it to burn. So, that should melt it all the way if I keep stirring it.
Hey Turtle, welcome. So I'm gonna go ahead and start prepping the broccoli. So we got some broccolini for this. Ideally, I want broccoli raw, but this is what we can find right now. So this is what we're going with. Basically, you don't want a full mature broccoli yet. This is, like I said, broccolini, so it's kind of baby broccoli. The stems are not going to be as woody. It's a little bit sweeter overall too, and the florets are real nice. So I'm just going to take off all the florets. Look for any little dead flowers in it. And then I am going to use some of this stem as well. It's got a good texture to it. Just going to peel back these extra leaves.
And we've thawed out the puff pastry. I just want to make it a little bit bigger. So I floured cutting board here and the top. I don't want to put too much flour on it, just enough to give it a light dusting. And I've got a rolling pin here. So I'm going to roll it out a little bit, just along the short side, to make it about 10 to 12 inches long.
The reason I'm removing these extra leaves from the side, they tend to be a little bitter, so I want it to be more of a sweet taste to this, so I'm just going to discard those. How's everyone doing tonight? Hope everyone had a good week. Friday.
Alright, so now I've got the pastry to the length that I want it. I'm going to add a little bit of butter to the chocolate that's melted. About a tablespoon and a half. That's just going to make it a little bit richer and a little easier to spread onto the chocolate. I might need to put it back in the microwave for another few seconds and just see how it melts here.
So and then the other way that you can melt chocolate, it's called the double broiler method. So what you would do, actually doing well and finally feeling healthy. So what you would do is take a pot of water, bring it up to a boil. Say this is your pot of water. Bring it up to a boil, and then you put the chocolate in here. Then you turn down the temperature of the water, and you would put this in. And what happens is it creates steam in the pot of water, and that will cook the chocolate. That tends to be the more traditional way of doing it. But microwaves are good for melting things like butter and chocolate. You just want to make sure you don't burn it. It's very important to not overcook in the microwave because burnt chocolate is no bueno.
Yeah, it's actually easier to burn it in the microwave than it is in the boiler.
Yeah, you don't have as much control over the heat in the microwave.
Alright. So now you can see it's nice and glossy and going to be thick but thin enough to spread. Kimbo is very interested. So now I'm going to spread it on the puff pastry, but I'm going to leave about 3/4 of an inch border on all sides. So just plop it in the middle and then spread it around with your spatula.
Okay, I'm going to start prepping some green onions. So for this, I actually want larger pieces. So I'm not going to overcut it. I'm just going to do like so. And then, so this is a cut it's called on the bias, so you're actually cutting on the diagonal, so I'm not sure if you can see that. But what that does, it gives you a little more surface area to work with when you're cooking it, rather than just like chopping it straight down.
Which if you are dieting, that's one trick to cut your food that way. It makes it look like you have more food. So it like tricks you into thinking you're eating more. You cut your vegetables that way. But also
It serves a purpose as well.
Alright. So I've got my chocolate on here. Now I'm going to sprinkle my chopped walnuts all over the chocolate.
Apollo, pad see ew is a Thai dish. It's noodles and egg and like kind of a sweet soy sauce base. It's my favorite dish. I actually prefer it to pad thai. Pad thai is a more well-known cousin of it. But
Pad Thai has peanut, right?
yeah, pad thai is peanut. It's typically a little. You can make either of them as spicy as you'd like.
Now I'm starting on the short end of the pastry and just rolling it up. Kind of pinch the ends as you go along. It's like if you're making just one long burrito. Tuck in the ends a little bit because you don't want the filling to sink out.
I'm actually going to use some tofu for this. And you can substitute any kind of meat you want for the tofu. I used to get this with chicken all the time. It's good for like dark meat chicken especially. But it's just some firm tofu. Just gonna cut it up into rectangles. You guys have never had Thai food? That's arguably my favorite Asian cuisine. I really enjoy it. There's a lot of great flavors in it. It tends to be pretty. Oh, the plus dessert part. That's this.
Yeah.
It's a
Chocolate and walnut strudel. So this is where it is right now. It's puff pastry, and there's melted chocolate and chopped walnuts inside right now. So I rolled up the puff pastry. Now I'm going to cut some slits in the top, also on the bias.
Okay, I just turned down the music. Hopefully that's a little better. Okay, now I'm just gonna do some garlic.
And right here I've mixed up 1 egg with about a tablespoon of water. And I've got a pastry brush. I'm going to brush it on top of the puff pastry. If you don't want to do that, it's not a problem. It just gives it a nice like gloss on top, but it's really not like a necessary step. It just makes it look pretty.
Just, it helps retain some of the moisture. And it'll give it that like classic golden brown.
I'm going to go along the ends too because it'll help kind of seal it off.
Yeah, this process is called an egg wash.
Alright, and that's it. We're good to go in the oven. So I've got a 375 degree oven, and it's going to go in for 30 to 40 minutes. We'll check it at 30 to see how puffy it is. We just want to make sure that it's nice and golden brown and it's puffed up. And we're good to go. Sounds like we're boiling.
Yeah. Alright, so the water's starting to boil, so I'm going to dump the pasta in.
I'm going to clean up a little bit over here. We've got the broccolini, the scallions, the tofu chopped up. You just chopped up the garlic. So I think we have all the ingredients ready for the pad see ew also. We've got some sauces and seasonings that we'll put in that we'll show you as we go. Do you want me to put this on the back burner?
What's that?
Do you want to put this on the back burner so you can use that for the walk?
Sure. Well, no, actually. It's only going to be 4 minutes, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, smell-o-vision would be very nice. It already smells really good in here, just from the vegetables and the garlic.
I'm eating the chocolate in the background.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Kimbo, you can't have chocolate. Sorry. I'll save the egg for you, though.
That's fine. Yeah, thanks.
So one of the things that makes cooking easier is if you kind of clean as you go. It just makes the process not as overwhelming, which might not that be exciting to watch, but is one of the things that I learned living with the chef.
Yeah, in a professional kitchen, you have to clean as you work. Otherwise, you're screwed. You'll have way too much of a mess to deal with, and you won't even be able to get to what you need to cook.
It also helps in planning what you're cooking of things that are easy to like have one thing that's in the oven and one thing that's on the stove top, or you know, stuff that's not going to destroy your kitchen.
And because this is a fresh pasta, this is actually going to cook pretty quickly, and I'm going to want to finish it in the wok. So I don't want to overcook the pasta in the pot of boiling water.
So you go by what? Did you shorten the time according to the package? By
Yeah.
how much?
Yeah, so the package called for 6 minutes and I cut it down to 4.
Okay. So by 1 to 2 minutes
Yeah.
You'll shorten the time on the package. And then drain the water. Which we're gonna do right now. So we'll set the noodles aside, and then we'll toss it in the sauce with all the other ingredients once they're ready to go.
All right. Hey, Nick. Move into the stove.
Hello. All right.
That should be good. Put this over here. All right. So, gonna get our wok nice and hot. What was that? So I'm going to start out with just a little bit of canola oil. Then go ahead and add in our garlic. And our onion. I'm just gonna mix it in here, it's fine. All right.
You want to do it over there?
Sure. And then go ahead and add in the tofu. Okay. And while this goes, I'm going to also start making the sauce that we're going to add in.
Guys.
The reason I'm doing the sauce ahead of time is there's some different types of ingredients, like different viscosities. So they kind of need to mix together a little bit, otherwise it doesn't build properly. You know, there's things like soy sauce, which is very watery, and then honey, which is very thick. And if you were just to add those in separately, they wouldn't cook the right way together. So, we're going to start out with our liquid aminos, or soy sauce.
Yeah.
Okay. Some honey. some hoisin sauce. This actually calls for oyster sauce, but we're substituting hoisin sauce because Mrs. Biscotti is allergic to shellfish. But this has a similar texture and sweetness to it. Some rice wine vinegar. What's that? Yeah. And then some sambal for heat. Spicy as you'd like. Hey, Rach. Hey, Durs. Thanks for joining. Huh? Yeah. And then whisk it all together. I need some sugar too. Yeah. Regular or brown, whatever's open. Put the whole thing in? No. That sambal is crazy spicy.
Oh, good lord.
That would be death.
That's like a Jackass scene.
Yeah. And then some honey. Or,
No.
sorry, not honey, sugar. I'll be right back. Should be good. I don't know what she thinks she found down there, but there's not really much she can eat from this one.
Yeah, she's very interested in everything now.
For the for those that just joined, here's what's already gone into the oven. This is the chocolate walnut streusel. Strudel. Whatever. Same shit.
Okay.
That custard's good. Yeah, that's good. So I'm just looking for some color here on the tofu. And again, you could swap out anything, any kind of protein here. Chicken, beef, pork, whatever.
Shrimp.
Yeah, shrimp goes really good with this. Any kind of, whitefish. But we went with the tofu. I actually really like tofu with noodles. It's got a good, texture that goes well with noodle.
It also soaks up the flavor of the sauce really well. So.
Also a good point. Yeah, tofu is great because it's a really nice blanket that really will absorb the flavors of anything that you're cooking with it. It's pretty standard. It doesn't have any overpowering flavors of its own. It comes in different thicknesses to it, like different densities.
Mm-hmm.
I like to use the extra firm when cooking with it this way, so it really holds its form. I've been stirring it around pretty well, and it's still a nice cube that I got. Some of them have broken down a little bit, and that's to be expected, but overall, they're holding their shape pretty well still.
And yes, we are going with tofu generally for a healthier option. We both stopped eating any meat other than fish a couple of months ago now. So we're looking for other protein options. So tofu is definitely a good source for that. And because they are like little sponges, it gives it's similar to poultry in terms of its texture and flavor when you cook it like this. So
now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove this so it doesn't overcook, and then I'm going to cook the broccoli and all the flavors that the garlic and the onions have left behind, and I'm going to add this back in when we actually get to the stir fry.
We both have found a positive result in terms of health and energy with giving up meat. At least, we feel like...
I really like... I'm a pretty big carnivore, especially when we moved to Colorado. It was a lot of meat that I started consuming. It's just readily available here. It's a big cow and pig state. But I realized that, yes, the noodles we already made and we have taken off of the heat.
They're right here. So.
Yeah, so the noodles that we used for this were a pappardelle, more so for the shape of it.
Yeah.
All the rice noodles that we could find.
Pretty thick. You can see like they're the width of my index finger. But that's about the thickness of the noodle typically used for pad see ew.
Yeah. So the pad see ew is the type of noodle also, and it's a rice noodle. Unfortunately, what you tend to find is rice noodles that are very thin, almost like a spaghetti or a fettuccine, and that is really good for pad thai, but it's not going to hold up the sauce that we're making. We need a thicker noodle to get it nice and glazed.
And we've got a sauce here that we made that we're going to add to everything once it's done cooking. But yeah, when we gave up meat, we do tend to just feel like less sluggish. I know particularly you used to feel like the itis after lunchtime. I didn't eat red meat or pork very frequently at all for many years, so it was really just poultry that I gave up. But I do feel better generally. We eat a lot more vegetables and fruit now, which is beneficial for a lot of reasons. Even though we've both been sick, I tend to get sinus infections really easily, and that hasn't settled. So, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, for me, especially at lunch, I would always eat a really heavy lunch, like a pulled pork sandwich or brisket or something like that, and by 3 o'clock I was falling asleep at my desk. That's a good idea, Nick. I will explain my tattoos during downtime. And I don't get that really heavy feeling when I have a nice, clean, rice and fish-based lunch, for example.
Careful, it's going to be hot. Give it a second.
Broccoli's looking good.
And the sauce, for those who missed it, has some soy sauce, honey, some of the chili paste that we use, brown sugar, rice vinegar. So we'll add that to everything once it's done.
So we're going to add this. This is actually broccolini that we're using. It's a baby broccoli, so it's a little bit sweeter, not quite as bitter as fully matured broccoli. Broccoli rabe is a great addition to that as well.
It does tend to be more expensive. than regular broccoli, but you use more of it. Like for regular broccoli, unless you're making a soup or a stew or something, you generally aren't going to use the stock. But with broccolini or broccoli raw, it's about twice the price of regular broccoli, but you're going to use almost the whole stock and the florets. So, per pound, you're actually kind of breaking even because you actually can use the whole part of it. So it's really good.
Yes, Broccoli Rob is a character in The Office.
Yes, of the acapella group.
Yeah. All right, so now we've got pretty much all of our ingredients in the same piece here, and I'm gonna go ahead and add in our sauce. Yep. I don't want to put it in too early.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh? Yeah.
You want this?
What's that?
You want this?
Yes, please. So now you can see the sauce is really starting to coat everything. And ideally here, my problem is our heat can't get hot enough. I think we've gone over this before with woks. All of the food tends to kind of settle in the middle. And what you would have in a traditional wok-based kitchen is actually, instead of having a flat top like this, it is an actual like reverse dome, like a cup almost, and the flame will come all the way up the sides. And that really allows it to cook high heat very quickly. Sure, that's a good idea, Drunkers. Can somebody permit him to share a link? I don't know if I have links turned on or off, honestly. Hashtag ProStreamer.
So I'm whisking up some eggs that we're going to add. And one trick to do that is to kind of tilt your bowl with the whisk and then go kind of sideways at it. Helps to get some air in there, which makes them a little bit frothy and just not so stiff when you mix them in. And then at the end, kind of whirl them around. So don't go too crazy because then you'll have eggs all over the place.
Yeah, and you don't want to over whip them. What you're trying to do when you whisk eggs is incorporate some air into them. So yeah, this is good. I can start to see some of the caramelization happening now that we've got all that sauce in there. So it's got some sugar and it's got the honey in there. That's really going to help caramelize and just coat everything. So I can already see it's probably hard for you guys, but some of the noodles are starting to get some nice char on them. The tofu's really starting to get charred as well. Yeah, right, D-Rex?
The hoisin sauce helps get it caramelized too.
Yeah, the hoisin. Anything that has that natural sweetness to it, the sugars just lend themselves to really caramelize everything that much faster and impart that sweet flavor into.
So like if you don't like broccoli and you don't like tofu, this is a good recipe to make because it gives that crispiness and that flavor to it. So it helps kind of,
and yes,
ease into that eating style.
And yes, Drunkers, that's a typical Pad See Ew looking dish from a restaurant. We omitted the bean sprouts and the carrots from it. We went pretty heavy with the broccolini, and then I went with the green onion. I really like that flavor with this, and then some extra garlic as well. Mm. Yeah, this is starting to look real good. Smells great too. And then I think I happened to see a follow happen at some point, and I'm sorry I missed it when I'm cooking. I can't see the screen all that well, so I do apologize if I miss somebody following. I appreciate all the follows and the love, of course. Ah, yes, Mystery Penguin. Thank you very much for the follow if you're still here. I apologize for not calling you out sooner. Welcome to our kitchen. Oh, yeah.
You'll get nice and crispy on the noodles.
Yeah.
Which that's why you want the broad noodle. The thin noodle is just not going to get that.
It'll burn up too
on it.
fast. Like, you wouldn't be able to cook it as long as we're cooking within the wok. It would just basically char really fast and turn to dust.
You're going almost for like the texture of like the top layer of lasagna.
Yeah.
How the noodles get nice and crispy. That's kind of what we're looking for on some of the pieces here.
Yeah. That guy
So
there.
again, just going to be really satisfying. Having all the different textures. The broccoli too, some of the tips of the florets are going to get nice and charred and crispy.
Yeah, we're pretty much almost done. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add in the egg. You don't want to add in the egg too early because burnt scrambled eggs are very nasty. And you just kind of want to move this around so the eggs don't sit in one place and just kind of incorporate themselves through the dish. And this helps kind of tie it all together a little bit. No, I don't think so. It's hard. This never loads properly.
Are you happy now, Kimby? Here's the egg.
Oh, good.
You want a big bowl for it?
Yeah, that's a good idea. There we go. So now you can start to see some of that egg come through.
Right. We use these tools a lot in a kitchen. There's just like silicone covered tongs. We've got 2 different sizes. It's good to serve any kind of noodle. But we also use it to like flip fish or pull stuff out of the oven. So I'm gonna get a pair out for him right now just to help kind of scoop stuff out of the wok, and then we'll also use it to serve our portions.
Yeah, sorry, our chat window froze, so I missed a bunch of stuff. So, yeah, I'm sorry. Again, hashtag ProStreamer. Alright, so this is pretty done.
Alright.
And there we go. There's our giant bowl of pad see ew.
Take it up to the...
So if you can see it, it's going to be smoking hot. It's not an autofocus camera, so it kind of pain in my ass, but you get the idea.
Alright. Check the... Ooh, I don't know.
It's good in there.
Yeah, we're getting there on our strudel. Got a couple minutes left, but do you want to explain some of your tattoos in the meantime?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, yeah. We'll go with this one. God, this camera just sucks for this. Yeah, so I I wish that I could make it zoom in more and whatnot, but this is
Take pictures and post them.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll post some pictures. This is a Tibetan knot of wisdom. It's a knot that goes on forever. It's kind of like their version of an infinity sign, to remind myself I can always be doing better, always be working harder. It's surrounded by a traditional Tibetan robe that turns into thorns and then back into the robe. And it's got fire behind it. And the knot itself is made of bamboo. Then up here, I've got a dragon, but I didn't want him to be like overly angry or aggressive looking, so we made him kind of friendly and old and wise, and he's got the ball of wisdom, and that goes up into a koi fish, so it connects through here, goes down into a koi fish, no nipples can be shown. So there's an old Japanese story of there was a temple that had a dragon at the top of it, and he was kind of like the overlord of the area, and the koi fish would try and swim up the waterfall to try and get to him. And he said, if any of you can make it up to the top, I'll grant you a wish. And one of them eventually made it, and the dragon said, okay, now that you've made it, I'll grant you any wish you want. He said, I want to be a dragon like you. And so he turned him into a dragon. So it's kind of a story of perseverance and, again, kind of hard work, determination. If you just keep trying, good things will come to you. Get this one. I think it's almost ready. How many rolls is it? Okay. Like multiple or yeah. Okay, then let it go for a few more minutes. So yeah, all the tattoos on my right side of my body are for myself. Like I said, just kind of reminding myself of who I want to be. Everything on the left side of my body is for my mom. She passed away from cancer in 2008, so this is a thistle flower, which is a symbol of both beauty and like powerful, strength and self-serving, because it's very pretty to look at, but it can protect itself as well. She had a really rough life, so it's surrounded by turbulent water, and it's rising above it, and the flower is the only part that has the color, and then it has her birth date and when she passed away around it. And then on the inside of my arm, I have La Mia Madre, which in Italian means my mother. And then on this shoulder, I have my mom's hands holding a clump of dirt with a seedling, which is to represent myself. And then on this part of my chest, again, I don't want to show too much, this is the written form of the Buddhist Om symbol. So the whole Om, that's the written form of it. And this one, Mrs. Biscotti also has tattooed on herself in an area she can't show. On my back, I have my last name, which that was my first and kind of stupid tattoo. It wasn't all that well thought out. And then I've got one on my leg, back here somewhere. I don't know. It's hard to see. It's the Eye of Oros. So that is a Egyptian symbol. So the story behind that is Ra, the sun god, which we all know from playing Smite. He was the sun, and Oros was the moon. And there was this big uprising of Egyptians that wanted to fight Ra, and they ripped out his eye. So that is originally like the story of the Eye of Ra, which is a very prominent tattoo on a lot of people, but this is actually the Eye of Oros. So when that happened, Ra was pissed, and he only had one eye, and the moon goddess, Oros, gave Ra one of her eyes, and that kind of completed him. So it was kind of a yin and yang thing. And then he came down and killed all the Egyptians, but it was the gesture of someone willing to do anything for their partner. And so I got that when Mrs. Biscotti and I were engaged and then became married. So yeah, that is all of them. And
he's like an image of a glass man. You can't really see him.
no, it shouldn't be too bad.
So you don't roll with that.
This is getting
Pretty good looking. Yeah, we're nice and puffy. So that's what you're looking for, and you want it to be like a little firm to the touch.
which it is.
Yeah.
And you can even see some of the inside rings of it have been cooked where the slits were made. So yeah, I think we're good. I don't want to overcook this. I know there's multiple rounds in there, but I'd rather have it a little undercooked than over. So...
And Rutgers, yeah, he does have plans for more. He already...
Oh yes, I have many plans for more. My problem is I've never actually paid for a tattoo. My tattoo artist was a good friend of mine in college, and yeah, he just kind of took care of me pretty well. And now he lives in Paris, so that is not very convenient for me. So I don't really get tattooed anymore. I haven't gotten one in many years, and I want to get more, but I'm reluctant to pay for them and just go to somebody new. But I want to get something for the time that I've spent as a chef. I've got lots in the mind. But yeah, that is pretty much our stream for tonight. Thank you everybody for hanging out, participating in chat. Hope you all learned something. Sounds like a lot of you hadn't actually tried Thai food previously, so I hope that this inspired you to try some. I hope tofu is maybe something you guys would be willing to try in the future. Hello, Amplify. Yeah, got here just in time for us to be kind of winding it down. Here, I'll at least show you what we made. So for dinner, we made a pad see ew with tofu, green onion, garlic, really yummy sauce, and broccolini. And then we made this like chocolate walnut strudel loaf thing that is going to be yummy for dessert. Yeah, of course. Thank you very much for coming and hanging out. Like I said, I always appreciate you guys being talkative in chat. My goal here is to just share some of the knowledge that I have from my past, whether it be personal life stuff, like I said, with the tattoos, or the cooking stuff too. I hope it inspires you guys to try some new stuff, try and cook some stuff on your own. I've started making some steps to become a little bit more professional in my shit, so you'll see within my panels, I now have links to, I've exported all my videos from previous streams into a new YouTube channel. And then I've set up the shell for a WordPress document. So I'll have my own little website that includes everything
We'll have
going
recipes
backwards.
and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so I want to get all the recipes down, so if you guys want to try certain things, you can do that. Hey, Rome. Thanks for stopping by. You are catching us right at the end, but thank you for thank you for the subscription to YouTube. Like I said, it's a new account. My other one is more video game based with my ridiculous antics and whatnot. But yeah, hope everyone had fun and enjoys their meals as well, and has an awesome weekend. For anyone that's here in America, I hope you have a great Memorial Day as well. And yeah, take care and be well. Love you all.